Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Joe Luca Real Estate Show. I am Joe, and I'm your host every Tuesday evening right here on WNRI 99.9 on the FM dial, 1380 on the AM dial. And of course, you can check us out streaming 24/7 at WNRI.com. This show is rebroadcast on Saturdays at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you can't catch it on a Tuesday night, we rebroadcast it Saturdays. You can check it out then. Quick shout out to Vern Rainville. You know, Vern Rainville, he's licensed by the state of Rhode Island to be a public insurance adjuster. The operative word is public. He works for you, the property owner, not the insurance company. And I can't emphasize enough, you see the commercials on TV and they'll be in the middle of a disaster area and they'll show this insurance adjuster working for ABC company, and they'll say they can cut you a check that day. Sounds good. Of course, you're looking at your house, it's a complete mess, and you want to get going on ASAP because you are a type A personality. But sometimes it's worth tapping the brakes and waiting to call Vern Rainville at 484-300-8495. 484-300-8495. Vern Rainville returns all calls within 24 hours. He's a Rhode Island guy, background in construction, so he understands how properties are constructed, okay? And the great thing is, you're not even sure if you have a claim or not, or you don't know, anything about it. Call Vern first. Again, 484-300-8495, because if you call your insurance agent, it gets logged in with the insurance company, and that could be a strike against you in the future and a reason for them to raise your premium. So do me and do yourself a favor. If you have a claim, think you have a claim. We had a crazy winter. Everybody you talk to seems to have either had ice dam or had a relative that had ice dam. So 484-300-8495. Vern Rainville, Public Insurance Adjuster. Also, Compass Title and Escrow. Anthony Betancourt and his team do a great job taking care of buyers and sellers of real estate. And they can also help you set up an LLC or anything like that if you want to do so. So 401-379-7770 is the number at Compass Title and Escrow, and we do appreciate their support. So, a lot going on in the news, of course, in the real estate industry. Yesterday morning, we woke up to the news, or came into the office to the news, that the company that I work for, the brand Remax, was purchased by another company called Real Brokerage. Okay, two very different concepts. Remax is about 50 years old. No one sells more real estate than Remax. And then you have this kind of, for lack of a better term, upstart company, publicly traded, very, kind of cutting edge. Their offices are very different. They're not like EXP in that everything's virtual, but they're kind of like a hybrid. They do have smaller offices, typically don't have the support staff that a lot of the more conventional offices do. Anyway, Real Brokerage bought Remax. People say, wow, how could that small company buy Remax? Well, it boils down to we're all human. And the guy who started Remax, if he's not 80, he's pretty darn close. And he's had some health issues. His wife took a stroke in the past year. And I think, of course, I don't know anything. This is just observational. I think he's just tired. He's 80 years old, and health issues, and you know what? He controls 38% of the stock. So I think he just said, it's time to pass it on and put it in the hands of another company that has some young blood and fresh ideas. And both companies are going to continue to be run separately under their own, banner, so to speak. And we'll see. Apparently there are going to be no changes, at least in the foreseeable future. Um, the purchase price was $880 million plus they assumed about $400 million of debt that Remax had taken on when they had to pay for some lawsuits regarding to NAR, and then they had made a big acquisition a few years ago. So, the price, including the debt assumed, was over $1 billion. So it's a good chunk of change. So that was big news yesterday, and it just adds to all of the tumultuousness that's been in the headlines, lately. So tonight, what I want to do is I want to make the connection between all of the tumultuous news that we've had, if it has to do with the war, the attempted assassination of the president, and the real estate market. So the title of tonight's show is Calm in the Chaos, Why Real Estate Still Makes Sense Now. Okay. So getting into it, so we always look at the mortgage rates. Go to Mortgage News Daily, and the 30-year fixed rate as of today is 6.38%. Okay, now compare that to last week when it was 6.31%. 30-year FHA 5.93. Last week it was 5.88. And the 30-year VA this week is 5.95. Last week it was 5.9. So rates are about 500ths higher for FHA and VA, and 700ths higher for the fixed rate mortgage. And again, if you call up one of our local lenders, like either Embrace Home Loan or Washington Trust or Navigant Credit Union or Shoreham Bank or Bank 5 or Anchor Financial, these are all great local lenders, you may be able to get a better rate than that, or you may not. These rates are typically for folks who are buying a single-family owner-occupied home. Okay, so if it's not owner-occupied, if it's not single-family, if it's not your first home, your primary residence, the rates are probably going to be higher. Okay, and then we also look at the price of oil. Okay, and we use my oil company, A Star Oil. No, they're not. I just say it. They're not, a sponsor or anything. And this week, their price is, hold on, $4.39. Last week it was $3.93. So that's a 46-cent increase in 7 days. Now, this number bounces around, the price of oil, every week. So I'm hopeful that it's going to drop down in the next few weeks, as hopefully the price of airline fuel for everyone that has to travel for the summer, hopefully that will go down as well. So welcome to the Joe Luca Real Estate Show. Here we focus on helping you make smart, confident decisions when it comes to buying and selling real estate. Okay, so I know a lot of people like me and like a lot of my friends and colleagues and family. The news cycle is intense. There are global tensions. You've got everything on Iran, geopolitical uncertainty. That you see gas prices go up and down. They're high. The price they're at today, the last time they were this high was when Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. So you've got all of that. There, domestic instability with the attempted assassination of the president and his cabinet members. Interest rates, as we just discussed, they're still bouncing around, and housing prices are still a concern. So these are kind of all. Some of them are different, but from a pedestrian's perspective, these are all very relevant. And I have this phrase that I use, bandwidth, and these things, at least personally, they suck up a lot of my bandwidth. So you've got this kind of information that's in the back of your head or your psyche, and it's just it can tire you, it can wear you down. Okay, when the world feels uncertain, people don't need any more noise. What they need is clarity. Okay? And a lot of these things are out of our control. Okay? This news cycle is intense. The global tensions in Iran, the domestic instability with politics and all that happy nonsense, we have no control over that. Okay? We don't have any control over interest rates either. Okay? So it's helpful for people to try and have some sense of clarity. Now, I'm just Joe Luca. I'm just a real estate agent. I'm not here to predict headlines, but what I am here to do is to help people make good decisions when it comes to real estate in any environment. Okay? Because the core problem is people frequently make bad financial decisions when emotions are high. Okay? Bad emotional decisions when emotions are high. I know I've done that. Okay? Some examples that I see people do: pausing a home purchase unnecessarily. Well, I'm going to wait for prices to come down and rates to come down and this to happen and the sun to rise and days to be this long, and nope, not wise. Selling too quickly out of fear. Oh, I've got to get out of this house before the market crashes. Not good. Or maybe you have another reason to fear, there's fear associated with your house. Or you have the people, as I said, waiting for perfect timing. When the rates are just right, the prices are just right, never comes. Does not come. Okay? Folks, the market does not reward emotion. It rewards preparation and clarity. How do you get prepared? Well, listening to this show, talking to a full-time experienced realtor like myself, which will help you make smart decisions and give you some clarity. Incidentally, 401-409-5030, that's my work number. You can call or text that number, 401-409-5030. I'll answer any questions you have, whether you're looking to buy or sell now or not. Okay? Folks, real estate is a long-term asset. It's not like stock. You can buy stock today, you can sell it tomorrow. You can buy stock tomorrow morning, you can sell it tomorrow afternoon. Short-term noise does not equal long-term value. Okay, I want to repeat that because it's so important. Short-term noise does not equal long-term value. I like to listen to my Maria Bartiromo in the morning, or News Nation, or things like that. Sometimes it's after 15 minutes, I just have to turn it off. Between all of the, if it's just the headlines and the people that are coming on talking and the commercials, and it's just like, psh, 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 psh. I'm just bombarded by all of this information. And it's noise. It's literally and figuratively noise. And that can contribute to kind of like a fog that could inhibit good decision making when it comes to big decisions. All right? So don't let the short-term noise, and especially when you're listening to one of these, stock shows or channels, these financial channels, and you have a stock person talking about home values, home prices, what's going on. They don't know. They know stocks. They may know bonds. Okay? There was one woman who was on the Maria Bartiromo show this morning, whom I'd never seen before, and her name was, I think it was Jenna Stouffer. And she is a realtor. She works for Sotheby's, and she's out of Florida. And she did a very, very good job. I was happy to see her on this show because she answered their questions. She stayed on point, talking about what she needed to talk about, okay, what her expertise area was. She just did a great job talking about where the market is. And one of the things that I want to point out that she said is in parts of Florida, they have 8 months of inventory. Okay, a balanced market, folks, is 6 months. Around here, we have about a month. So what's happening is people are putting their houses on the market in Florida, and it takes a year for them to sell. Let that sink in, okay? Because many of my colleagues and I are fielding calls from clients whose homes have been listed for a week and they haven't received an offer yet. My brother lives in Palm Springs, California. Similar thing there. Okay, 8 months of inventory. So you're starting to see in other parts of the country a softening of the market. Now, these are areas. Now, Palm Springs is its own, its own microcosm. That's probably going to change over the summer because that's when everybody, when that's their busy season. The winter is not. So that number should tighten up. Okay, but Florida, parts of Florida, they really overbuilt. They overbuilt. So, is that properties down there going to continue to sit on the market longer? I don't know. But what I do know is you can't let short-term noise, you can't expect short-term noise to help you create long-term value. Okay, folks, if you are just tuning in, you're listening to the Joe Luca Real Estate Show right here on WNRI 99.9 FM 1380 on the AM dial. And we also broadcast the show at WNRI.com, which is on 24/7. All right, so I want to, talk a little bit of a history lesson right now. So some of the situations that have happened in the past that have really adversely impacted the real estate market or the economy in general. Of course, here in Rhode Island, if you're old enough, you remember DEPCO in 1990. It was a catastrophic period we experienced here in Rhode Island. But then in 2001, there was 9/11, the attacks. 2008, we had the financial crisis, okay, the Great Recession. In 2020, we had COVID shutdowns. Now, we were very fortunate here because one of the best things that Governor Raimondo ever did was she allowed us to conduct business to help people buy and sell homes. But think about it. What did people feel during those times? DEPCO, post 9/11, the Great Recession, COVID shutdowns. Were they fearful? Was there uncertainty? Was there a desire to wait? Well, here's what actually happened. Here's the reality. Markets recovered. Real estate values increased over time. And opportunities continued to exist for those who stayed steady. Now, during COVID, those shutdowns in Rhode Island, that actually pushed property values higher. Those were the times when you'd have an open house and the line would be around the block. But remember this, folks, every period of uncertainty can create opportunities for those who stay grounded. Well, Joe, what do you mean? During COVID, you said the prices went up. Right, but in order to be realistic and not overpay for houses, which many people did, you had to stay grounded. You couldn't get caught up in the feeding frenzy of just throwing in offers. You had enough money for a down payment to offset any increases in the price. You could lean on mom, dad, brother, sisters. That's what was happening. Some people were like, all right, I'll pay this, but then I'm out. And other people were like, I'll pay whatever it takes to get this house. Now, I get it. Buying a home is every bit subjective, emotional as it is objective. In fact, it's probably more emotional because you have to factor in things like, oh, you know, close to work, next, good highway access, close to schools, close to shopping, far away from shopping, far away from the highway. Okay? Where are we right now? What's happening right now? Well, current market realities, okay, from the southern New England / Rhode Island perspective. Extremely low inventory. That means more buyers than sellers, so it's unlikely you're going to see great reductions in prices. Sometimes you'll have some adjustments on list prices, not frequently. Okay? And again, folks, we're talking about residential, not commercial. Okay? Commercial properties are a different thing, and there are a lot of, the dynamics are entirely different. So we have low inventory, less than 2 months. There's still really strong buyer demand. And I want to point out, despite the fact that gas is over $4 a gallon, oil, home heating oils, over $4 a gallon, other things have increased in price. The demand amongst prospective buyers has been consistent. Because they're wise enough to know that if they don't buy the house now and they wait until gas prices come down, at least in this part of the country here in Rhode Island, home prices are going to be that much more expensive. Okay? So prices are holding steady. Some areas are still rising modestly. And in the final analysis, sellers still control the transaction in many situations. Okay? Interest rates, they're higher than they were during the pandemic lows, but historically, okay, historical perspective is so important. The historic average for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage is over 8%. Okay? And what did I say we were today? We're at 6.38 for a conventional, 5.95 for FHA. So buyers have been adapting, not disappearing. Okay, this is not a time to be timid or scared. Work with a full-time experienced realtor. Ask questions and have them give you the data so you can make good decisions, make a smart decision. All right? The market has not stopped. It's just adjusted. Okay? A mistake a lot of people make is they think that the housing market is just it's just a straight line. Okay, so it's going to continue going up, or down, or flat. Because the housing market is many different markets. You have condos, you have multifamilies, you have single families. You have median price range homes, you have high-end homes, you have fixer-uppers. Okay? So each of these independently could have a different line. One could be going up faster than the other, one could be going up and down as rates bounce around. One could never change because the buyers are wealthier and they're paying cash. So they're not affected by things like interest rates. I've been a realtor since 2006. Buyers today are more serious than they've ever been before. That's my personal opinion. Sellers are still getting strong results. And in the final analysis, the market, air quotes, has less chaos than the headlines may suggest. Now, I want to point out that does not mean that every transaction is smooth sailing. No, because buying a home is a major financial step. It's stressful. Things happen. There are surprises. That's why you need to work with a good team. And, your humble host, Joe Luca, 401-409-5030, and my team of lender partners, title attorneys, home inspectors, movers, estate clean-out partners, landscapers. We can make it easier so that the chances of surprises happening are less likely. Okay? So folks, you're listening to the Joe Luca Real Estate Show right here on WNRI 99.9 FM, 1380 on the AM dial, streaming at WNRI.com. My number, 401-409-5030. That is my work number. If you have any questions, if you'd like to call in during the show, 401-769-0600. Thank you to Vern Rainville, Public Insurance Adjuster, licensed by the state of Rhode Island, 484-300-8495. Vern will get you the real information about any insurance claim you have on your property. 484-300-8495. All phone calls returned within 24 hours. And of course, Compass Title and Escrow, Anthony Betancourt and his team of attorneys and paralegals do a great job of taking care of our clients. 401-379-7770. So again, 401-379-7770. All right, getting back to the show, a really big show. So why is the United States still the best place for home ownership? All right. This is personal and also professional, factual. We are incredibly fortunate to live in a country where home ownership is accessible to so many people. I'm going to repeat that. We are so fortunate to live in a country where home ownership is accessible to so many people. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to make lots of money. You don't have to be born here. You just have to set the goal to become a homeowner and then make smart decisions to get you from where you are to being a homeowner. One of the most rewarding transactions I can experience is when I help home buyers buy their first home, and they were not native, they weren't born here, okay? They came here 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Worked hard, scraped, saved, did what they did, established credit, and bought a home. And they're able to pay it off over 30 years if they choose to. Prior to that, folks, in the early 1900s, you couldn't get a 20 or 30-year loan to buy a house. So imagine today trying to buy a $450,000 house and, you have to pay it off in 10 years. At an interest rate of, say, 5%. Think about that. Okay, so that's $45,000 a year that you're paying just to pay down your mortgage. Many countries around the world have limited financing options. They don't have FHA. USDA. There are higher barriers to ownership of real estate. It varies by country, but there you would be surprised how difficult they can make it. Although I guess if you're trying to do business in Rhode Island, sometimes they make it awfully difficult to do business in Rhode Island. And in other countries, there's less legal protection for property rights. And in some countries, they don't even have title law. We've talked about this in the past on the show, where I can own the land, Steve can own the house, and he can sell the house to Jane, and then Jane buys the house, she pays Steve, and I come in 6 months later and say, wait, I own the land, that's mine. Because they don't have title law, so there's no way to check that out, to verify who owns the land. We have 30-year fixed rate mortgages. We have property rights protection. The government can't come in and tell you within reason how to run your property. There are zoning laws, yes, I know. They have regulation with setbacks, and we talked about those previously. But your property rights are protected. And even when the government wants to take your property by eminent domain, there has to be a clear public need for that. We have title insurance systems, okay? And the markets are transparent. Okay, you can go online, you can go on MLS, and you can see what houses are selling for. You can see what they sold for. So we are very fortunate to live in the United States, in a country that makes home ownership so accessible. That American dream of owning a home is available to virtually anyone who wants it and is willing to make the sacrifices to become a homeowner. Part of my job as a real estate professional is to help people navigate this whole system safely and comfortably and confidently. Homeownership in the United States is not just possible, it's one of the most powerful wealth-building tools available anywhere in the world. Let that sink in. My job is to help people make smart decisions during their journey to become a homeowner. And sometimes it can be stressful, it can be tough, but when you get two people to the closing table, a ready and willing buyer, ready, willing seller, one thing is for sure, and you have two parties that are starting their life anew. Because even if you're selling your house due to a death or a divorce or a nursing home, after you put that behind you, it's a fresh start. You don't have the stress from that negative or potentially negative situation. You're buying a house now, wow, it seems like the sky's the limit. You can paint the walls, you can do the landscaping, you can do whatever you want. So, what should people do right now? Okay, we're in the middle of the craziness, the tumultuous headlines. Stock market goes up, it goes down, it closes up, it closes down. One market's up, one exchange is up, one exchange is down. Interest rates are bouncing up and down, 4 or 5 hundredths of a point every day. The one thing that's consistent through all of this is that in this area, home values have been increasing. Home values have been increasing. So that alone should be reason to just like block out, push out all of this chaos that's in the news. Because there is a lot of it. And it's stressful. You know, I wanted to watch the White House Correspondents Association event the other night, and I was like, oh, they said Trump was going to speak, and it was going to be funny, he was going to, make a lot of jokes. I was like, oh, this will be nice, so relax, put the TV on, and I'm just sitting down, and it's like, all of a sudden, bang, 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 and Trump gets rushed out of the room. I'm like, son of a gun, what the heck happened? And obviously we know what happened. And so then it's just like, as it sinks in, and you see all those people, Trump's leadership team, the vice president, cabinet members, their wives, all getting, scurried out of the facility, the building, into a safe area. And it's like, man, and of course at this point I didn't know what the heck was going on, but it sinks in. It's like, man, if they didn't do that, this could have really been a bloodbath for those people as well as all of the innocent guests, if they were press people or the guests of press people. And it's just like, you can't experience something like that and not have it sink into your head and wonder, my gosh, how could people be that evil that they wanted to go in and kill a bunch of people? But there are people like that. Of course, we get reminded of it the more we watch the news. So it is tough. It's a little stressful sometimes, but it's important, folks, to tap the brakes, take a step back, take a deep breath, and think about what your long-term goal is. Buying a home, buying a bigger home, buying a second home, an investment property, a vacation home. What's essential to do all of those is, one, work with a good realtor. Your humble host, Joe Luca, 401-409-5030. Any one of my lender partners will take very good care of you, as well as title and escrow companies like Compass Title and Escrow will do a great job taking care of you, giving you the information you need to make smart decisions, so that when you get to the closing table, you are confident in your decision making, because it wasn't emotional. Okay? So what should you do now? What should people do now? Well, for buyers, don't wait for perfect conditions. They never get here. Again, I've been helping people buy and sell homes since 2006. I can't believe I've been doing it that long. They're never perfect conditions. Okay? I waited for perfect conditions. I learned the hard way, and I've counseled everyone not to do the same thing. Okay? So, buyers, do not wait for perfect conditions. Focus on monthly affordability and long-term ownership. And then, with your lender and your realtor, you build a strategy to get you where you want to be, not a reaction. Sellers, inventory is still low. So, this means opportunity for you as a seller. This means you can still have control over the transaction. But again, proper preparation matters more than ever. Do not start making repairs or remodeling or rehabbing before you speak with a realtor. Someone who's been in the market, someone who works with buyers and sellers, so they know what buyers are looking for. Because again, most people think they need to spend more money on their home to sell it than they should, and in fact, most things that you spend money on do not increase the sales price of your home more than what you're spending. Okay? So, homeowners, stay informed. Don't allow yourself to be overwhelmed. Listen to shows like this. You can call me, 401-409-5030. Text me. Call another realtor. Okay, there are a lot of other good realtors out there. My friend Bob Martin advertises on this show. On this station. Homeowners, maintain your property. Don't let things get out of hand. Little things. Keep the gutters clear, okay? Do whatever you can to avoid problems with water. Okay? Because water can create lots of other expensive problems if it's not addressed in a timely manner. And many times, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not damaging or creating problems and increased expenses for down the road. So when you first see something that's changed, when you're assessing your house, walking around the house with a cup of coffee Saturday morning, Sunday morning, you notice some plants sprouting up from your gutters, then you want to take care of that. Okay, folks, we have a caller. Bear with me. Okay. Hello, caller. Good evening. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I certainly do. If you would like something like that, just shoot me a text with your name and email, and then I'll send it out to you. It's Joe, J-O-E, at Joe Luca, L-U-C-A, Realtor, R-E-A-L-T-O-R.com.
You prefer to be able to invest, money in the house that's going to give you the best bang for your buck as you go out the door, so to speak.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, you don't want to spend more money than you need to. And a lot of times people think, oh, I've got to spend $10,000. And a colleague of mine, one of his prospective clients, she spent $10,000 on a garage door and a front door. And he's like, you really didn't need to spend that much money because it's not going to increase the sales price of your house by that much money. But she wanted to do it, so she did. It's real important to pay attention to what you're spending money on.
Like right now, I'm in the process of. Was it a few years ago? I replaced my roof on my house and my garage, and so that was, as far as I'm concerned, that was a great investment.
Oh yeah, definitely. The roof is roofing is roof, garage door, front door. Those are the three things that for every dollar you spend on replacing them, it increases the sales price of the house, the value of the house, more than $1.
And also, too, is I'm in the process of replacing my heating system, the furnace.
Oh, excellent. Yep.
Just to go with an oversized furnace, so if somebody wanted to put an addition on the house down the road, we would have the capacity to handle that.
That's smart thinking.
So to me, it's and also too, I believe in using the best materials out there. Like for example, I've had tenement houses before,
Mm-hmm.
and I've Real McLean boilers and A.O. Smith hot water tanks.
Oh yeah, those are good. I have a Smith boiler in my house. Yeah.
But but the thing is that you want to make sure that whatever you buy, you want something that's more than adequate, but also with expandability features.
Yeah, that's very smart. Very smart. Where's your house?
North Smithfield.
Oh, okay. Yep. Great.
So, in fact, I promise you, when I decide to sell, I'll be calling you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, fantastic. That's good. Yeah, so definitely shoot me that text, 401-409-5030, with your name and email address, and I'll get that out to you within a day. Okay? Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, thank you very much to our caller for calling in. Um, so, see, that's a smart homeowner, and these are the things that we were just talking about regarding what homeowners can do to prepare, maintaining your property, okay, protecting its value, long-term planning, okay. So, it makes a lot of sense to do things the right way, not the cheapest way, okay. And this is, whenever I show houses that are obvious flips, many times, the flippers, it's like they just want to get in and get out, and they do everything, Mickey Mouse, ham and eggs, as my friend used to describe it, not the right way. And they're just trying to do it cheap so it looks good and that's it. And I try to, for my buyers, I try to, show them. I don't tell them what to do, but I'll point things out so they can make the decision about whether or not it's a good decision to put an offer in on that property. Okay? So folks, if you're just tuning in, I'm Joe Luca, Realtor. I help people avoid costly mistakes. I help them understand the market clearly and make decisions that align with long-term goals. Okay, and you probably have noticed I'm not pushy. I'm definitely not reactive. And I provide strategic, thoughtful guidance. Okay? Now, if you call me up and say, Joe, I need to buy a house in the next 30 days, all right, we're going to move really quickly, and that educational period is going to get tightened up a lot, so I'm going to really overwhelm you with information. But I want you to have an opportunity to learn those lessons. Okay? But it's always better to plan ahead. Start as far out in advance of when you want to sell your house, when you want to buy a house. Just get in touch with me, 401-409-5030, just like our caller just did, planning ahead. Okay? Because I know the world can feel chaotic. All of the headlines. Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, Ukraine, assassination attempt. DHS still isn't funded. They don't want to pay for all of it. One thing, something else. Build the ballroom. Don't build the ballroom. There's a lot of everything is just so antagonistic. And that's overwhelming, and it's really, annoying and emotionally taxing. That feeling of everything being chaotic. But your decisions do not have to be that way. You can make the decision to plan ahead and do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5 to get you from being a tenant to being a homeowner, or even being a landlord. To transition from owning the home you've been in for 10, 20, 30 years to a new home or condo. Plan ahead. Get good information so you don't make bad decisions. Okay? Again, 401-409-5030. Send a text to that number with your name and email address if you, like our caller, want to have kind of like a bulleted checklist of things to do to prepare your home for sale. And it includes things like what you want to look at. Oh, does this need to be done? Pretty detailed. It's pretty detailed. Um, you want to have something like that so you can use it as a guide so you don't make mistakes. So you don't not do something you should do and overspend on something you shouldn't. Because again, folks, you don't need to predict the future. You just need to prepare for it. Okay, I want to repeat that. You don't need to predict the future. You just need to prepare for it. And that's where I come in. I can help you prepare for the future when it comes to real estate. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, please reach out 401-409-5030. Text or voice that number. We can have a conversation and we can build a plan. Oh, and we can do all of this and it's not going to cost you anything. Okay? I'm big on building relationships with people, and I bring a lot of value to a real estate transaction and a real estate relationship. Okay? So I want you to remember this. Clarity beats chaos every single time. The market doesn't reward fear, it rewards preparation. And home ownership is still one of the most powerful tools for building generational wealth in America and the world. You don't need perfect timing, you need the right strategy. Okay, folks, thank you very much for listening to the Joe Luca Real Estate Show this week. Please stay tuned. Rick Maroney is going to be on with some old-time scripture reading and interpretation. Rick does a fantastic job, in these times of chaos. And of course, who brings us chaos but the enemy? And God is the one who can calm down the chaos and bring you a sense of stability, okay, and calmness. So please stay tuned for Rick Maroney's show, and we will be back here at the Joe Luca Real Estate Show, same bat time, same bat channel, next Tuesday. And we are going to have a special surprise guest next week, local business owner that I think everyone is going to enjoy listening to. So please mark your calendar. Next Tuesday, 6 p.m., tune in to the Joe Luca Real Estate Show right here on WNRI 99.9 FM, 1380 AM. Very huge thank you to Vern Rainville, Public Insurance Adjuster, 484-300-8495, and of course, Compass Title and Escrow, 401-379-7770. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.